Peace and blessings, oh family. We did it again. That's right. We did it again. When I tell you we got a special guest, I honestly and I truly mean it. We got another one. We got another special guest today. Of course, she's not a stranger to the show. She's been on before, uh, giving us pearls of wisdom about conscious parenting or quantum consciousness. And she's an IIN health coach, a Chopra certified meditation instructor, just a learner and a practitioner of expanding her consciousness, her awareness, how to show up and be a beneficial presence on this planet. We're going to jump in today. So family, give it up to our sister, Nicole Mitchell. Nicole, how you doing?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much, Andre. What a wonderful greeting. Thank you. That was so kind. I'm just so grateful to you. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you.
No,
Again.
Thank you. Exactly. Again, right. I appreciate you for, for the conversations that we have. We have the most spiritual, the most deep conversations. Oftentimes the conversations that we have off camera are so beautiful. And then I feel like, in this setting here, we can just capture it and just chop it up, because I've been interested in conscious parenting since our previous conversation. I know you've done work with Dr. Shafali before, and we've had conversations about how conscious parenting and meditation kind of are in many respects an overlap, if you will, of what meditation looks like in the physical form when you're parenting. And so I'm interested and intrigued just to really dive a little bit deeper and figure out what led you on that journey. How did you start out in conscious parenting, and what made you study under Dr. Shafali?
Yeah, great question. So, and I love that you want to go back to that, because I think that really sets the tone for things of why you get into conscious parenting. And, when I think about it, before our first child was born, and, I thought, okay, I want to be the best parent that I can possibly be. And of course, my partner, he's the same way, right? But I've always been somebody that wants to improve, somebody that wants to continue learning. And I believe that we all are that way. Sometimes we just lose our vision of that. And so I was starting to just read and read and read, especially during pregnancy. And that's really, I started meditating a lot during pregnancy too, because I wanted a natural birth. And so I had to prepare my body and my mind for that process. So how else do you know how to prepare yourself other than learning? And so I started reading, and I was reading all kinds of books. I was reading Daniel Siegel. I was reading about the whole brain child, and his books. I love him. He's amazing. And I thought, okay, this is awesome. This is learning. This is, it's something new. And then I stumbled upon Dr. Shafali's book, The Awakened Family. And that was not her first one, right? I think the first one was The Conscious Parent, but The Awakened Family was what I stumbled upon. And I started reading it, and it was like this just 2x4 hit me in the back of my head. And I'm thinking, this is just paradigm shifting. This is everything I'm reading. Wow. This is not what we've been taught. This is not what we grew up with. This is not what society teaches. This is not, parenting is about disciplining and setting rules and setting boundaries and making sure that, you're showing that you're the leader of the group, right? And that your child needs to follow you and do what you say. And that's how you create a good member of society. And so I thought, okay, that's not what this book is teaching. This book is about me. It's about changing me. And so that was the whole shift. And I thought, this is amazing. This is awesome. I want more of this. And so I kept reading, and when our son was born, by that time I had not taken any courses, right? I was reading, I was working. And so I was trying to do those things that I was learning about, of changing that mentality, changing of how we interact with him and how we look at different things. And it's not about, it's about being there and being present and letting him guide the way and doing what's best for him, not thinking that you already have all the answers, because our children, when they're born, one, they're not ours, right? Because we don't own anybody, just like nobody owns us. And so it's knowing that when you have a child, when you engage in that process, one of those conscious paradigm shifts is that you had that child for you because you wanted to learn something. And when you ask somebody, why did you have children? Well, I wanted to bring something into the world that was a part of me. Okay, well, that's about you. I wanted to do, everything starts with I, right? Or we. It's not about the child. And so these children too, when we look at the consciousness level, they choose us. They choose to come into these families just like we chose to come into our family to learn something. And so that's how it all started. And then going into Dr. Shefali, it was years later. It's now been, I think, 2 or 3 years since I took that course. 2 years maybe, and time just flies, right? It all blends, because it doesn't exist actually, and so taking that course, I came to my husband one day and I said, yeah, I've been looking, and I want to take this course, and I found Dr. Shefali has these courses and I'm really excited about it, and I said, so it's kind of expensive. And so I told him, he said, well, he listened to me talk about it. He said, it sounds right up your alley. And I said, you're supportive of it? He said, of course. If it's something that you're interested in and you feel that you're passionate about it and you want to do it, then by all means do it. And so that's when I ventured into it. And it was the beginning of a huge shift within me that set off just a chain of events that I could have never imagined of where I am today. Right. So that's how I got into it.
It's such a beautiful journey, and I love how you phrase it. It's not necessarily about us doing anything for the kids. Like our children already come perfect, whole, and complete the way that we are, right? And they have a deeper sense of connection to that. And so I love it. Conscious parenting ain't about the kid. It's about the parents. It's about the parents. Yeah. Because there's that shadow, those patterns that we've created, right, where we feel like we have to control everything and dominate the kids, and that's not the case. That's not the case, at least from what I'm learning as a parent. And I'll be the first to say, first of all, I don't have a handbook on being the like I believe as a parent, like, we do the very best we can with what we have, right, what we know. Just like anything in life, right? If you know better, you do better. I love how for you, specifically talking about conscious parenting, seeking out ways to be better, seeking out ways to be a better parent. Studying with Dr. Shefali is absolutely incredible, because it gives you a framework, right? It gives you a framework. And then, as with many structures in our life, the answer is within us. It's within us. And so things like meditation for me have been very instrumental in being a better parent. I think my ability to respond as opposed to react provides the space for me to be like, hey, you know what? No. They already understand what their desires, right? They understand their desires. Their desires come from a place from their soul. Who am I to figure like I'm supposed to, push them in another direction because of, maybe conditioned thinking that I have or something like that. So I appreciate you for framing that up. Indeed.
That's it. You're exactly right. It's the conditioning. And so when we get into the heart of conscious parenting, it's looking at what are the conditions that created who we are today, right? What's the programming, if you will? I'm very into Bruce Lipton's work too. So programming is one of those things. When we look at it, we're programming ourselves every single day. And the programming begins in the last trimester of the womb, right? When we're in the womb, all the way to the age of 7, because at that time, we think of it, yes, we have come perfect, whole, complete. But in order to live in this world, we need programming, right? We need the software installed, just like a computer needs something installed in it. And so where do we get that programming from? We get that programming from the people that we're around the most, from the environment that we're immersed in. So when we look at what did we learn through our time from the age of the last trimester through 7 years of age. Right. That is the program that was installed into us. And not until we become conscious that programming is running our lives, because our subconscious is it's basically running everything, right? And so 95% of our life is run by programming. That other 5% is when we're conscious. That's kind of scary if your programming is not what you want it to be. So if you think about that programming that we have installed in us and that we're allowing to run our lives, if we're not conscious of that, then we are actually projecting that onto our children. And so when people say, oh, conscious parenting, yeah, I want to fix my child. I want to, they have these problems, and I want to learn how to fix them. No, there's nothing to fix in a child, because as you said, they are born perfect, whole, and complete, as are we, born that way, right? But the programming is what then it gets instilled into our subconscious of we're not perfect, we're not deserving, we're not lovable, we're not whatever, we're not worthy, whatever it may be. And that happens because of the events that happened during those first 7 years. And it's nobody's fault. And that's part of the premise of conscious parenting too, because as you said, we do the best that we can with what we have at that time. You don't know until you know. And so if you are not aware of what that programming was when we were younger, then we're following that same programming with our children as we're going through it. And so not until you become conscious of, hey, is this the programming that I really want to pass on to my children, or do I want to do something different? Well, guess what? Doing something different might be scary because it's uncertain. And yes, people would say it's an experiment, but that's what life is, isn't it? It's one big experiment. So why would we continue following the same thing when we know where it's going to lead, when we could change that and produce something different, something better, improve upon it? Because as a parent, and I'm sure you feel the same way, you want your children to be better than you in every way of the being, right? In every way they could be. But also, that doesn't mean that you control them. You just allow them to be. And so how do you allow them to be? You get out of the way, but you have to recognize where your programming is not allowing them to simply be who they are, not simply be their authentic selves, because we want them to be what we weren't, or be what we think they should be, or be what society wants them to be successful. Well, what is success? Success is just defined by someone, right? But they already know what success is. It's being. And so that's the beautiful part about conscious parenting, is that you're getting out of the way. You're letting them be who they are by recognizing that programming that's actually running your own life, that's controlling them, and releasing that.
I love that. Success. What is success? Like, kids inherently know what that is, right? But then it's the peer pressure or the societal pressure, I think, along the way, that we begin to redefine success through the eyes of society or other people, right? That I go with the definition of the expansion of happiness and the progressive realization of a worthy goal would be success, right? And that's different for every single being. Inherently, kids know what that is. They know what that feels like, because they're not thinking about that. They're like hardwired, as we all are, to feel good, right? To feel good. And feeling good is doing those things that are aligned with the truth of who they are. With the truth of who they are. We're talking about my son earlier this weekend going to the Reptile Expo, and he comes alive. Like he literally comes alive. I mean, if I say, AJ, look, let's do some reading in. If I hand him a nonfiction book, you know what I'm saying? It's just, if I hand him a nonfiction book, he's fine, right? He loves reptiles. He loves anything science. If I hand him a fiction book, it's just like, forget about it. Like, that doesn't do anything for him, right? He knows everything about reptiles. He was talking to the vendors about the different lizards they had, the life expectancy, and he's 10. He knows what success feels like to him. So who am I to try to guide him in another way? And I think as adults, what happens is we kind of take on these different definitions and lose that essence and that remembrance of that beautiful childlike nature, what made us come alive. But what's funny is we celebrate athletes who hold on, who nurture that. Who we celebrate. If somebody wins a championship and they cry and they're like, "Mama, I made it." And it's like, I've been playing basketball since I was in, 3rd grade, or I've been boxing since I was a kid. And we celebrate that, but we lose that aspect of our own selves, of nurturing those dreams and knowing that we already got everything we need inside of us. And as parents, our responsibility is to create that environment, to grow it, to cultivate it.
You're right. Now, success to me is and what it's come to be defined as currently is loving ourselves.
Love it.
Because when you love yourself, then you know what it is to love another person and love them for all that they are and who they are without trying to change them.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't, anything in this life, right? You cannot truly teach without experiencing it yourself. So how do you love another person if you don't love yourself? And when we come back to conscious parenting, the things that happen in our childhood teach us that we're not lovable. Something happened, and it's no, again, This is not about placing blame, because once you acknowledge it, then you say, oh, okay, well, that's why I feel this way, or that's why I behave this way, or that's why this triggers me. There really is no such thing as an external trigger. Nobody triggers us. Some event triggers a wound inside of us that is unhealed, because at the core of it, we don't feel that we're loved. We don't feel that we're lovable, because we don't love ourselves, because something happened. Like, I was reading something, I think I was listening to something today, and it was talking about, a father goes to the store with his son, and his son says, I want that toy. And his father says, no, you can't have that toy. So the child throws a temper tantrum, and the dad says, see, you can't have that, because look at this behavior. You're not deserving of that toy. So what is that moment goes into that child, especially if they're under 7, they think, wow, I'm not deserving. It must mean I'm not lovable. Well, then I don't love myself, because I'm not deserving enough to be able to have this toy because of my behavior. They don't really connect it because of the behavior. They just hear the words, you don't deserve that. And so that at that point creates a wound in them. And that wound is coming from the person in their life that they feel they should be receiving unconditional love from. Because when we're born into a family, and we look at those people, those two parents, if we're fortunate enough to have two parents, I know that not everybody is, right? But whomever those individuals are, if they're parents or guardians, whoever it is that is responsible, because that's what it is. You're responsible for bringing that child into the world and teaching them the morals, the ethics, the guidelines, the boundaries of what it means to be living in the world, and how to be safe, how to be a good human being, right? But on top of that, we're installing all other types of things, that programming, because that programming is within us. So when you're looking at all of that, you're saying, okay, so how do we look back on that and say, what defined us? What created that wound that is now triggering us when our son or our daughter creates this behavior, and that behavior comes back to us saying, wow, I just projected onto my child, you're not deserving of this. Because if I go back when I was younger, something probably happened to me where that same thing happened, that somebody told me I was not deserving of something. And that wounded me. And that immediately threw up the ego. And the ego said, that hurts so much, because it was somebody that I thought would love me unconditionally. And I have to behave a certain way in order to get their love unconditionally. Otherwise, it's conditional. And so that ego comes up. And then later on in life, it says, I don't want that same wound to be felt. So now I'm going to project that back onto my child and make him feel it, him or her, instead of me feeling it, because I don't want to feel that pain again. And so my ego's gone up. So once we become aware that that's happening, we say, oh, this is actually not about the child. This is about me feeling pain that I have never allowed to actually feel. Right. I didn't want to feel it at that time because I didn't know how to feel it. Right? Because nobody actually allowed me to feel those things. It was this thing that made me feel undeserving. And so conscious parenting looks at that and says, okay, what are those wounds that are unhealed within us? What are those inner child wounds? And how do we go back through those, look at the events that trigger us, and then go in and heal those wounds by finally feeling them? Because if you can just feel something, so let's say you go to the beach, right? This is a great analogy that Dr. Chopra uses in her teaching. You go to the beach and you see the waves crashing on the rocks, or crashing against a pier, or just crashing on each other. You don't really react to them. You just sit there and you just feel it, right? You let the waves just flow. You let them crash. You let them be. And so if you have something that you're feeling, when we react to it, that causes an emotion, as an emotional response. But generally, it's not a response, it's a reaction. And so when we just feel it without reacting to it, then we can move through it and allow ourselves to actually respond to the environment, and respond in a way that is more conscious, that's not a reaction to something that's unhealed within us.
That's it. Become the observer. Be the witness.
Exactly.
Be the witness of it. Be the witness.
That's where meditation is so key. And that's where meditation, I said I had gotten into it when I was pregnant with both children, because that was something I had to train my mind, right? Train my mind to be ready for what was coming. But I was an infrequent meditator. But then when I started conscious parenting, I started meditating more, because that was one of those things that allowed me to build coping mechanisms with the pain and what I was feeling as I was going back through those things that were creating the patterns that I was living out in the programming. And so I thought, wow, this is really powerful. This meditation is something that's allowing me to just be with the feelings, not place blame anywhere, not look at things without judgment and just say, yeah, it happened. And you know what? It's beautiful that it happened. It's amazing because I got to experience something that I'm now using to learn from and to grow from. So guess what? I love every piece of my childhood exactly as it happened, and every piece of my life exactly as it's happened, because all of it happened for me to be exactly where I am right now. And I'm able to learn and I'm able to grow. And that's why every day I wake up and I feel so blessed to be able to wake up and I say, wow, it's a brand new day. It's a new moment to just take on the world. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to expand into? How am I going to be, able to interact with my kids, with my husband, with everybody around me in a way that is expanding into consciousness, that is expanding and just growing into more love of myself, love of others, whatever I can do to just expand. And that's what conscious parenting did for me. It was the catalyst. It was the spark that lit the flame that continues to grow today into a beautiful, burning, whatever you may want to call it. It's just amazing.
Wow, that's dope. I love how you talked about it. So the observation effect, right? Just being whatever we look at a subatomic level, that thing begins to change by just looking at it, by just observing it. And for me, that's an easy thing to do in some respect, right? Depending on what the issue is. Let's be honest, right? It could be something that's dramatic. You'd be like, I ain't ready for that. But when you find that you're ready to really to do the work and just observe, doesn't mean that you're changing anything like physically with effort. It's just your mere awareness and the ability to just look at it. You begin to change it. That's so powerful. That underlines how powerful we are as beings, and just how powerful science is, and in how that works and how law works, right? That if we look at it, it will begin to change.
Biology of belief.
There we go.
Right?
There we go.
Whatever you believe in, that's what shapes your programming. Right? And so we look at that conscious parenting, right? That those programs that were installed in us are driving our beliefs, our thoughts, our patterns today. Can we change them? Absolutely. We have the power to change because, as you said, we are powerful beings. We are creators. And so many of us don't realize that we feel disempowered, right? Because we are allowing outside beliefs, outside thought systems, outside programming to continue to drive our pattern of behavior. It's like you look at TV. I don't watch TV, right? I don't watch programming. And they call it programming for a reason. But if you look at what are you engaging in? What are you engaging in every day? Are you on online social media? Are you reading the news? Are you watching TV? Are you watching programs? Well, look at all of those things and think, is the programming that those things are sending into your brain, into your subconscious, really the programs that you want running your life? Or do you want something different? Do you want to expand your consciousness into learning? Because at the end of the day, when we leave this plane of existence, we have our consciousness to take with us, right? Our bodies don't come with us, but our consciousness moves into the next level. And so we have that foundation that then when we do our life review, we look at all of the things that we learned during that time, right? And all of the things, how we made people feel. We feel all of that when we go through that process so that we can learn about it. And we can say, wow, you know what? There were some lessons that I really didn't learn that I may have wanted to learn, but then I have a chance to go back and do it again. And I take that consciousness back into that new body and I'm able to build on it. So we're building a foundation in each incarnation. So why not continue to expand on that foundation and continue improving? I mean, why not? How beautiful is that? It's amazing. And that's why I wake up every day just feeling so blessed that I have more opportunity to continue building on that, to continue to be a better person, to continue to love myself more, to love my children more, and to love my husband more, to love my family more, to love life more, to love every being on this planet. And so when you look at children come in, as you said, perfect, whole. They are beautiful creators. Look at them when they play. They're creating an amazing world that we shut down when we get into, reality. Oh, we have to go work. Oh, you have to go do this. School is programming. School programs us to do certain things, to be certain things, really to conform and to be a certain way, right?
Absolutely.
And so is that programming that's going on in the school that we're sending our children? Is that what you agree with? Is that what you feel is actually allowing them to be their authentic selves and allowing them to continue to pursue their dreams and to continue to dream, to continue to use their imagination? Because the imagination is what's going to continue fueling them into what they can actually do with their life and be passionate about. But when we shut those things down and tell them, no, this is what you have to learn, this is what you have to do. And if you want to be successful, you have to follow this formula. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. So then they get programmed in their mind to say, this is what I have to be doing. Otherwise, I'll never be a success. And then they stop loving themselves because they're trying to live their life for something else, to prove themselves to someone else. But that foundation at home is what sets that whole basis. And so let them play, let them dream, let them, and you know what? Immerse yourself in that world, because that nurtures our inner child. That brings that life back into us that says, yes, that's where that passion is. That's what I've lost. Look at your children. They are our best teachers of how to continue to be in this world. They have so much to teach us, so much. And all we have to do is open ourselves up to that. And when we do, we start to learn together. And then we realize, wow, we are learning together. And we have this beautiful opportunity to have these beautiful creations that are so perfect, so whole, and so close to source, coming through with that amazing energy that are able to create, teaching us once again what it means to be the ultimate creator of our life, changing that biology of our belief system of saying, yeah, you know what, that programming that I have over here, I don't like that. I'm going to reprogram it. And if technology has taught us anything, it is that we can reprogram anything. So why would we think we can't reprogram ourselves?
That's right. That's right. Requires to your point earlier, self-love, right? Mm-hmm. And the willingness.
Yes.
The willingness, right?
Yes.
The willingness is to sit, the willingness to observe, and in some respects, in courage as well. Mm-hmm. Willingness and courage to observe the shadow aspect, those patterns, those programs that are driving our thoughts, creating thought forms that manifest into experiences. Some that we like, and others that we are there to help us call forth different desires. I'll put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So that we can, hey, we have this experience that hey, you know what? No, I don't like this, right? And so you ask the question, who am I to become? Based off of this experience, what's seeking to emerge based off of this experience that I'm going through. And based off of that, you call forth, you create another desire and create a different experience. But it's the willingness to have the practice, I believe, right? And but I guess one of the questions I have, and going back to your example earlier, when a child, we'll go back to the scenario when the kid is on the floor and screaming because he can't get a toy. What would be your recommendation, the best way to handle that situation as a parent?
Great question. Yeah. So connect with your child. Say, what is it that my child needs right now? Right? They need acceptance for what they're feeling, because they're just acting out what they're feeling as an emotion, because their brain is not fully formed. They don't realize that they are in a store and there's an expectation from everybody else to behave in a certain manner. They need you to connect with them. So you say, you get down on the floor, or you get them up and you hug them and you embrace them and allow them to just feel what they're feeling. And then say, I know, you know what? It's tough when we see something we really want that we can't have. I understand that. Have an understanding, show them compassion. What would you do for a friend that has something, they see something that they want, they can't have it, and they say, wow, they start feeling bad about themselves because they either can't afford it or it's something that they really want and they just can't have it at that time. Show them that same compassion that you would have wanted shown to you. Put yourselves in their shoes, empathize with your child and say, wow, I see myself sitting there on the floor doing the same thing at that same point in time with my parent. What would you have wanted your parent to show you at that time? Love, understanding, compassion. Doesn't mean you give in, because giving in just shows them that reinforces that behavior, right? That's not the pattern that we want to set in motion. So give them a hug and say, yeah, it's okay. And who really get out of your mind of what other people are thinking of, oh, the child is screaming, because if they see you respond to your child in a way that says, wow, I'm going to embrace them. I'm going to show them that I still love them for feeling what they're feeling. And it's okay, because you can go home and use that as a learning experience to say, you know what? I know that was really hard. That was really that, and that's why you were feeling the way you were feeling. Name that emotion, help them understand what it was that they were feeling, and then talk to them about different ways that they could handle that going forward, about that might make them feel a little bit better about saying, wow, I really want that right now, but now's not the best time to get it. So hug them, embrace them, tell them you love them, because that allows them to feel accepted for who they are at that time, for just feeling their emotions. And then whatever you need to do, whatever comes at that time, be present with them and allow yourself to be led by them. What are they needing more from you? And say, hey, you know what? What did we come here to do? We came here to look at some things. I really need your help to go find these things. Can you help me go find this? Because you're really good at
Mm,
noticing things that I don't notice, and you're observant. And so I need
mm,
your help in that. Engage them and then start getting them back into the direction that we want to move them, right? And so one, we're not dismissing what they felt there. First, you're showing acceptance, you're
mhm.
showing that compassion to them, you're showing that love to them, and then we say, all right, now we're going to move out of this and we're going to go move into something where we want to bring our attention to, because we're going to redirect our energy, because we're not spending our energy well if we're just going to sit there and look at the past, right, and look at something that we can't have. We already know that we can't have it, but
Mhm.
we're gonna move in the direction of what does that child need right now. So connect with your child, connect with them, and give them exactly what you would want in that moment that you're missing, and then you're able to respond in a manner that you're able to move forward together.
Mm. Connect with them.
Hmm.
Connect with them. That's a powerful step. As I think about that, and I put myself in that scenario, if you know one of my kids are in the store and I say they just start bugging out, having a moment because they can't get something. Connect with them. So for me, and then this runs culturally as well, right? Because I know from a cultural perspective, my parents, black parents in general, if you show out in the store, that was probably one of the worst things that you could do. Like literally, like if you embarrassed, you like, I know you ain't out here showing out at like
Hmm.
that was going to be, you knew when you got in the car that was going to be something, right? So for me, it's a transformation in thinking, right? And I'll say now, if my kids have a problem in the store, I'll be like, what's wrong? What's happening with you? Giving them the language. I think that's key, right? And when they're really little, they're not going to have the language, but providing them with a language to help express their emotions and what they're feeling. From a parent's perspective, from a cultural standpoint, I do believe that is kind of like, got to figure that one out, because we know what was working, what we were doing before wasn't always the best, right? And so the rule of thumb in my parents' household is you what you show out is where it goes down, right? So if
Hmm.
you in the store and you're acting crazy, look, they're gonna tell you, wait till we get in the car, and then you get disciplined, right? That's
Right.
just how it was, right? And so now, of course, when you know better, you do better. Meeting the child exactly where they are, in many respects, is like we said, it's the language, helping them with the language to express, and even that, it's just hug. For me, it's just like, yo, listen, I understand what you're going through. I feel you. I understand what you're going through. Still, I love you. Doesn't mean I'm changing. Doesn't mean I'm changing, but I can help you walk through this. I can help you walk through. And sometimes it literally is like, if it's my son or daughter and they're upset about something, I'll just let them cry it out. I'll let them
Hmm.
work through that, because I don't want them to feel like I'm trying to get them to not be in contact with their feelings,
Yep.
right? That's important
Beautiful.
as well. That's important as
It
well, to let
is.
them have that.
It is. You don't want to shut those down. It's important to have them, because that's how we learn how to be emotionally resilient, and we
Mhm.
learn how to deal with them more effectively. Because if you shut them down, then nobody ever learns how to actually experience them and what we should be doing to be healthy with them. And you know what? As a parent, take some responsibility too. Did you give your child the core needs before you stepped out into the store? Did you make
Mhm.
sure they were fed? Are they hungry? Because when we're hungry, I mean, the term
Mhm.
hangry hasn't come
Mhm.
around for nothing, right? So it's okay
Mhm.
for an adult to be hangry, but it's not okay for a child to be hangry. So we have to take
Facts.
responsibility for that. Make sure that they're fed. Make sure if it's a
Resting.
child that's in diapers, are
Mhm.
they clean? Are they dry? Because nobody wants to be in anything wet and mucky, right? So have they slept well? Are they getting enough exercise, or are they sitting in front of a computer or a pad all day, right? Are they
Mhm.
getting out connecting with nature? Make sure that those core elements that they need to be to feel like they're safe, they're ready to go out in the world, and are taken care of. Because, you know, a lot of times, like with my kids, if I see them start to get a little testy with each other, I say, you know what, guys, I can see that you're probably hungry. You know, we haven't had lunch yet. And so it's hard to deal with our emotions. And we just kind of are angry and we take it out on each other. I get it. And they kind of both look at me and they stop and they say, yeah, I am hungry. Why haven't you made me lunch yet? And so what's my response? You're right. I need to get on that. Let me do that for you. Or, hey, if you're hungry, you know, you can go and get these types of snacks, or you can come and get me and say, hey, I'm hungry. But if you're not recognizing it because you're fully immersed in what you're doing, it's my job to also notice that, because as a parent, right, those are the things that we want to be able to say. Notice those things inside of you. Notice that when you are hungry, you may not be able to respond well. And so again, we're setting up a pattern. When you allow them to witness and observe themselves and say, I'm hungry and I'm not able to respond appropriately, then that's something that you're teaching them to experience that in a healthy way.
Setting up a parent, just so raising their awareness as well, right? So when I haven't eaten anything, or maybe I'm thirsty, or maybe I need to go outside and get this energy out. I know for my kids after school, I miss playtime. You've been sitting in school all day. It's time to go play. It's time to go play. We call it get your wiggles out.
I love it.
Like, Daddy, I need to get my wiggles out. I was like, well, come on, we're gonna get the wiggles out, because then it's all of that energy that's been kind of like stored up from sitting at a desk most of the day. Like, nah, you got to go move. So we go get the wiggles out, and if we don't get the wiggles out, then I realize that, you know, that's when the moments are they get frustrated, or, you know, they'll get upset, or, you know, all these different points. But as humans, we got to move our body. We got to move a body. So I like the idea of, you know, establishing patterns, you know. So as parents, we all have busy schedules. How can we take, I guess, small steps into implementing, you know, this type of thinking, this paradigm shift for many of us, right, into our daily lives? Like, what are some of the little incremental things that we can do along the way to start making this transformation?
Well, one is effective time management, right? Where is your time being spent? So honestly, look at where your time is being spent every day. When you come home from work, or if you work from home, when you're done working, be done working, right? Put your phone down, close your computer. You've been on it enough. Focus on being present with your family, because that's also something that kids are generally going to respond or react when they're not getting some of those core needs met, and that some of those core needs are getting attention and affection and love from the people that they need it from the most.
Correct.
Those people that they live with, their parents, right, their guardians, or whomever their caretakers are. And when we're not giving giving that need, or meeting that need rather, then they're going to react. You know, maybe they're or it's your energy that you've brought into the home that they're responding to, because they pick up on our energy just like our animals do. They pick up on that energy. And so that's one of the things that my husband and I do too. If the kids are a little out of sorts, I like to call it, you know, and they're not responding to things how they normally would, then we look at, are their core needs met, right? Or are they responding to some funky energy that's coming off of one of us? And so you have to honestly be able to look at that. Have I brought some energy into the house that I don't want here? So guess what? Change it. Because everything is energy. What are we putting out into the field? What are we projecting into the field? Are we projecting anger or disappointment or fear or something else that may have come from something we engaged in, some news that we're watching, or something that came from work, or something that came from someone else? Then change it. Be aware of it. So time management is also looking at, what are we engaging our time in? What's the programming that we're putting into ourselves on a daily basis that we're bringing into our home? And then be active with, if you have a partner that you're co-parenting with, then be active with them and hold each other responsible. But that also means that you need to check your ego at the door. Because if you're going to ask someone to hold you responsible for how you're behaving and where your energy is, then you need to be receptive to them being honest with you. But that also means communicating effectively, right? Yeah. So if we're communicating effectively, we're not communicating to attack one another. We're communicating to bring awareness that we might not be seeing ourselves. And so my husband and I do a great job of that with each other. It's saying, hey, you know what? I noticed that you're a little off. Is something bothering you? Are you in pain? Did I do something? Have I created this energy within you? Because if I did, you know, then I want to take responsibility for it. I want to correct it. If I didn't, then what's bothering you? Is there something I can help you with? Because we're there to be with each other, right? We're living a life together.
Hmm.
So live it together and take responsibility for it. And so once you're doing that, you're looking at all of those things that are entering into your life, and every moment you're present, you're aware, right? You're leaving that baggage at the door when you step in the door with your children and engage with them. When they come home from school, if they're going to school, then look at that. When they're coming home, they're looking to be with you. They don't want you to just say, go outside, or go check into the iPad, or go sit in front of the TV because I've got things that I want to do. I want to disconnect from where I just came from. So I'm going to go and flip through my phone, or I'm going to look on the iPad, or I'm going to turn on TV, and I'm going to be programmed some more. Well, guess what? That programming is running your life. So give them more of what they need. Connect with each other. And so a lot of it is, again, being aware. So what are those steps? Being aware of how we're spending our time. So give an
Yeah.
honest assessment of every day, how are you spending your time? And if you don't know, then start looking at it and become aware of, when I pick up my phone, wait a minute, is this really what I want to be doing? Do I want to send that message to my children that picking up my phone is more important than connecting with them? Because that's what we're doing. We're telling them that our devices are more important. TV is more important. The programming that we want to sit in front of and
Hmm.
plug more into our subconscious about probably bad relationships, or news that's just programming us. And news today, I mean, let's be honest, most news is negative, right? Because negative is what sells, because that grabs people in. It's
That's
just
right.
more programming. It's telling us
Yeah.
things that we don't need to hear, because
Facts.
all it's doing is adding more negativity into our field, and then we start projecting that negativity out. So be
Hmm.
aware of what you're consuming, be aware of what you're spending your time on, and then make some changes, make small changes. It doesn't have to have like this huge explosion of change. I mean, if you're capable of it, then by all means, go on with your bad self. But most of us are not, right? We need to take small steps. And when we take small steps, we make small changes, then pay attention to what those changes are actually yielding. Because when you pay attention to them, then you can start celebrating what they're bringing into your life. And then you've got positive reinforcement to continue making small changes toward that positive reinforcement of pattern change and good programming that's bringing in more good programming into your home and that connection with your children.
Mm, that's dope. I love it. Cultivating that space at home. You talked about, the time, being aware of how we're spending our time. And that's definitely a key part of it. But then also we can bring energy into the house that is just out of line with the mission and the vision for our family. Right? That energy, and that shows up, and that can be as disruptive as anything. There's a book, I think the young lady's name is, let me see, I think it's called Vibrate Higher Daily, and her name is, I think it's Layla Delia. The book talks about, just her growing up. Her father was really deep into spirituality and meditation, and what she remembers as a little girl is her dad used to like curate the environment at home. Right, he's very intentional, so it'll be burning an incense, right, or playing music, and just making sure that the energy inside the home matched the energy that he felt and the balance that he felt inside himself. And she remembers that as a little girl and continues to practice that to this day. It's so much so that she wrote a book about it. And as I listened to the book, it just like, listen, we have to be very intentional about, one, our mission and vision for this family. What are the qualities that we embody in ourselves and as a unit, as a family unit, that we demonstrate to each other, and we take them outside of the home. But then what does that feel like? Right? So the home life it needs to feel that way. And when there's any inconsistency or uh deviation from that, we feel it. We feel it. And so it's so funny. We started this thing, it's like a dinner on Wednesday night. What we do is we take a rug and we lay it out on the floor. We call it community bowl, right? So everybody, we sit on the floor. We don't eat at the table. We sit at the floor, and everybody got their little place settings, and we just sit down and we eat dinner together on the floor. And then we have a jar, and inside the jar are all the qualities of spirit. So it'll be love, joy, peace, harmony, wholeness, well being. And so every person has to pick a quality out. And throughout the course of the dinner, they have to, it's like charades. You have to act that quality. You have to be that, embody that quality. And so, we just go through it. And it's just a little activity so that, one, it brings us together. We're not divided by a table, or we're sitting at the floor. We're all grounded in one space, and we're with each other. And at the same respect, we're still embodying how we want to show up in this place. And I love how you said that, because that, to me, that is the most important aspect. I think if parents had a chance to go to school and see how kids show up at school, it changes the way we do things at home. The way we do things at home. Because I love going to my kids' school and just watching and observing, because I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. Like he's getting it. Like they understand. They understand. They got the assignment. They understood the assignment. And just being kind and being loving and compassionate, all those qualities, they show up at school. And I'm like, wow, how important it is to create this space so that they can learn those qualities at home as well. I love that idea of being mindful of the environment that we're creating, the vibe we're carrying in our house. That's so important. Thank you for that, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. It's also relationships, right?
Oh yeah.
What you see in the people that you spend the most time around, right? And if you're your parents, you're
Mhm.
going to look for those same relationships in everything that you do going forward.
Yeah.
So cultivating a healthy relationship when you're co-parenting is so critical. Whoever you have coming into your home, it needs to be
Mhm.
a healthy relationship. And that means going with the ups and downs, right? But again, check your ego at the door, because if you want a true relationship with one another, then you should welcome feedback where you can improve, because then you're learning how to help one love yourself and
Mhm.
experience the love of another. And if you can totally accept someone for who they are, then you accept when, hey, you've contributed to something that may have not made them feel so lovable. And so then you welcome that feedback in and say, oh, that's empathy. Wow. That kind of hurts to know that I did that. But you know what? I can fix that. I can apologize and I can do better going forward. So thank you for bringing that awareness to me. And now I can improve upon it. Because if we're constantly telling our partner, hey, you're not enough, you're not doing enough, you can't do that, or, I don't love you, or it's whatever it is, you're constantly putting them down, then what are your children seeing? They're
Mhm.
seeing the same thing, and they're going to look for the same thing in others, and then they're not cultivating healthy relationships, but they're
Right.
also seeing that image that, well, somebody's got to be superior to the other. No, there is no superiority in a relationship. It's reciprocal. And you should
Right.
always be looking for relationships where it is reciprocal, where you're loving, you're giving and receiving all the time. And so you're giving love, you're receiving love, but you're also giving feedback and you're receiving feedback, and you're open to that. And so that's such a critical component of it, where, like, there was something that happened the other day, and I said something to my husband, and he was like, oh, you know what, he walked out because he knew, that he was upset by what I said. And so I sat with it for a while, and it took me probably a little while longer than I should have. And I said, you know what, I'm sorry that I made you feel upset. And he said, thank you, I appreciate that. And that was all that was needed, right? But then he helped me to understand what he was feeling. And
Mhm.
I just sat there and took it in. I didn't have to be defensive about it. I just accepted that I contributed to that. And I'm sorry that I did that. So let me do better going forward. Be in the present moment and say, yeah, I screwed up, but I can improve. And that's an awesome way of welcoming that into your environment, of saying, anything that is there that's happening is happening for us. It's not happening to us. We're not the victim. Stop being the victim to your programming. Stop being the victim to everything that's going on around you, and embrace it as happening for you, as a learning opportunity to grow, to improve, to love yourself more. Because when we see things as a victim, we're not loving ourselves, right? We're projecting something that we're incapable of accepting within ourselves. And when you're doing that, you're also teaching your children to be the same way. So there's just so many opportunities around to improve, and to embrace things. It's like fear. Fear
Mhm.
is an opportunity for expansion. Bring that fear into you and say, what do I truly fear right now? Is my life in danger? If the
Mhm.
answer is no, then what is that fear actually here to teach me? How can I expand into that and create something that is the opposite of fear, that is love, that is
Right.
compassion, that is empathy?
Bring in the opposite.
Mhm.
Bring in the opposite. It's the choice.
It is a choice.
Choice. It's the choice. The choice is being uh, a result of having expanded awareness. Right? You said it. I mean, you framed it up lovely. It's not happening to me. It's happening for me. That's an expanded awareness, right? Listen, no victim here. You're an all powerful being. Victim to what?
Yes,
Right? Simply by
exactly.
observing something, we can change it. By
Yes,
just observing it, we can change it.
yes.
Yeah. So that component there, is life happening to me, or is it happening for me? That underlying premise determines a lot. I think John Wooden said that, right? He said, if you ask, is the universe friendly? If you whatever you say is right, something along those lines, right? If you say it is, then it is. If it isn't, it isn't, right? It's all about your
Exactly.
perspective.
Biology of belief,
That's it.
right? What you believe it to be is what you're going to create. So if you believe that everything is bad, is evil, well then guess what? That's what you're going to cultivate around you. And that's because that's what you're projecting into your field.
That's
So
right.
if you believe in abundance, then that's what you're going to bring more of. If you believe in love, that's what you're going to bring more of. And then when somebody is showing something that's the opposite of that, then guess what? When you start bringing more love into that, then you're showing them, you're setting that example. So that's why the change has to come within the individual
That's
before
right.
we can start to change the world around us. When you change yourself, the world around you shifts because you start projecting all of that into the environment. And that's what we need more of. We need more compassion. We need more empathy. We need more understanding. And we need to understand that everybody's entitled to their own truth, right? Just because you have a truth doesn't mean that I can't have a different truth, but understand that that might be my truth and I don't have to put my truth onto you. I can look at what you're saying from a place of empathy, from understanding, compassion. Hey, maybe what you say might be a chance for me to expand my own awareness of what else is out there. And then, that expansion is beautiful. That's expanding consciousness. And so that you say the observer effect, right? In quantum physics.
Mhm.
Well, in quantum consciousness, we say the creator effect because we
Mhm.
are the creator of our own reality. We are the creator of our own world. So, what do you want to create more of? Do you want to create more sadness, more distress, more fear? Or do you want to create more love, more abundance? Because if you're coming from a place of lack, you're only going to get more lack. If you're coming from a place of abundance, you're only going to get more abundance. So, what do you want to create? And that's the question: is what do you want to create in your home? What do you want to create with your children? You want to create an environment of love and abundance, then go create it, and then be aware when you're not bringing that in and say, oh, there's a moment for me to expand further. I can change right now because change only happens in the present moment. It doesn't happen in the past. And the future is just a construct in our mind. But guess what? We're creating the future by changing in the present moment.
That's right. It starts now. Starts coming into the now. Right here, right now.
Exactly.
Not the
We're
worries
changing
of the
things right now with what
That's
we're
it.
talking about. Right. And so when somebody watches this, we have the ability to change what they're thinking about in that present moment. And even though when they're watching it, this may have occurred in the past, they're watching it in the present moment. And that is the opportunity for change right then and there. So, what do you want to create? Do you want to create change or do you want to create more of the same?
What do you want to create? What do you want to create? All powerful beings. I am presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
The I am presence. It reminds me of Reverend Ike talking about it. Reverend Ike said something the other day that blew my mind. He said, I am the only limitation. He said, I am my only limitation. That I was like, wow, Reverend Ike just dropping them with jewels. And my thoughts are my only limitation. Right? What do
Yes.
we want to create? What do we want to create? It's so powerful. I think a lot of this, it takes me back. There's a book by Alan Watts. He talks about the wisdom of insecurity. I think Deepak kind of took it and talks about the wisdom of uncertainty. And it's that spot where we're not sure. It's that ambiguity, right? Where we kind of are left in this space where we have to ask that question, is life working for me? Right? Is everything, or is it happening to me, right? And so it's that sweet spot for me, and I always carry these embers around of examples of when I was in uncertainty, right? So that I'm not giving into the fear of ambiguity, right? I remember a time where I think it was, let's see, I had just left a corporate job. I'd been working in corporate world for over a decade, and I decided to go back to grad school. And I was literally, the program was like 3 months in Paris, and then like 6 months in Philly, and I was headed to Tokyo. A few months before, not even a few months, a few weeks before, found out that my wife was pregnant. And so this was I was just like, oh, we gotta make some changes, like super quick. And I didn't know how things were going to work out because my life was directed to getting on that plane, and I'd come back a year later, and we'd start family, all everything. That wasn't the plan. Like there's a Bible, a verse in Proverbs that says, "Many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails." Right. And so I had everything planned out, but then uncertainty hits, and I realized that in that space where I had to let go of those plans that I thought that I wanted. Right. And so what happened was, for me, in retrospect, I realized that I was going down a path that wasn't aligned with my soul, because at that point I was going to go full out into a corporate career, and I was willing to forego having a family in substance, right? Because I knew that once I went down that path, there was one gonna be much gonna be able to pull me back. And so thankfully I made the choice to pivot, stay here, have a family. My family is so precious, and I I wouldn't trade it for anything, for anything.
Mhm.
But that was the path that was aligned with my soul. But it was the uncertainty that would make you question whether or not you were making the right decision. And I had to sit in that uncertainty for some time. And so whenever I get into a place where I'm like, how is this going to work out? Is everything going to be okay? I go back to those moments and understand that there is a higher plan, there's a higher order and divine timing that is taking place in all of this. There's a powerful force and intelligence that knows greater than I knew at the time where I signed that I was going to go study in France. That what I really wanted was a family. What I really wanted was to grow my career here in a different area. And so I have to trust in the wisdom of uncertainty, because that wisdom of uncertainty is aligned with your soul, not with your logical mind. It's the fear. It's the fear that really obstructs and clouds our vision and can impede us from really seeing the beauty of that moment. Because there's
Yes.
there's such a beautiful thing that's unfolding. We just have to trust it. We have to trust in the uncertainty of it, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it's
Yes.
uncomfortable. But it's so important to carry those embers around, those lessons and reference points around, because you can go through life and hit these moments of fear and uncertainty and freak out. Freak out, right?
Yeah,
The ego will have you thinking you're dying. The ego will have you
absolutely.
think you're dying. All along, you're following and being in alignment with what your soul is calling forth in your
Mhm.
experience. It's a powerful point, and it has me thinking about you in conscious quantum consciousness. Talk about that, because it feels like, dealing with the level of the soul, dealing with a more expanded awareness of who we are. Just dive into quantum consciousness for a little bit.
Yeah, so quantum consciousness. So I when you say uncertainty, right? So each of those moments of uncertainty of going into something new, like the conscious parenting, led me into meditation, which led me into studying under Eckhart Tolle to become a
Mhm.
teacher of presence, and really that's what life is about, right? Being in the present moment, because that's where you can truly embrace what is happening for you and you can
Mhm.
expand. Because if you're in fear of what could be or what might be, but you're not in the
Correct.
present moment.
Correct.
And then that led me to Ayurveda, so I went
Mhm.
and did Ayurveda certification with Chopra too, which was beautiful. I mean, learning more about health and being in rhythm with nature. I mean, why wouldn't we want to be in rhythm with nature?
Right.
Earth is amazing. It sustains our very being. And so, as I was starting to go into that, I was starting to explore more in metaphysics. Started reading Dolores Cannon and
Ah,
thought, wow, this stuff is just phenomenal. I'm thinking, this is where I need to be going. This is really expanding me into things that I didn't even know were out there. And so I started listening to some podcasts. Well, that's probably saying that's shorting what I was doing. I was like voraciously consuming podcasts and reading, and that's just what I do. I mean, when I do something, I go all in.
Mhm.
And so then on a podcast, I heard I watched a podcast with Peter Smith, and I listened to it, and I thought, wow, this is just, I thought this is amazing. And this is fascinating. The word that came to mind just kept coming up was, this is fascinating.
Mm.
And so that night, after listening to it, I made my husband watch it. And I said, listen to this. This is just fascinating. And so as I'm listening, he's like, yeah, it's cool. You know, this is cool. And he always supports me in what I do, but it doesn't mean that I require him to be all in like I am. He supports my passion, and he loves to listen to me. And he also knows too, when I get passionate about something, I'm going to talk about it endlessly for at least several days, sometimes weeks. I just keep going on and on and on. And he's always good about just letting me go, you know, and sometimes he'll chime in, but usually it's just letting me ramble. And so I thought, after we listened to it that night, which was the second time that day, I thought, you know what? Something is pulling me toward this. And so I'm going to go email him. I want to find out more about this. So I hopped online and I sent an email to Peter Smith. And I said, I am really interested in what you're doing with the Institute for Quantum Consciousness. This is just, this is groundbreaking work. This is amazing. I want to learn more. And so we exchanged a few emails, and there was a course coming up. And so he said, you know, we have to do a meeting first, because he vets everybody that he brings into the course. And so, you know, he's based in Australia. And so, you know, we had a meeting, and I was super excited about it. You know, I had no idea what I was getting into, but I was just super excited about it. And he said, I can feel your passion coming through. You know, calm yourself a little bit and just kind of be present with it. And he said, you know, I have a book that he wrote, you know, that was about quantum consciousness. And so he said, I want you to read that. And I said, oh, I already have it ordered. And so I said, it's going to be here in 2 days. And he said, oh, okay, great. Well, I can give you, you know, a copy of it to read. I don't require you to buy the book. I'll give it to you, you know, when you join the program. I said, oh no, you know, you can send me the ebook too, but I'm going to read the other book, and I want to support your work too. So I don't mind buying it. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as it came, I started reading it, and I was just so fascinated about it. This is amazing. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but this is just amazing. So then I you know, come the course and everything, and I start the course, which was 2 weekends. And it was 6 hours the first weekend, eat for 2 days, and then 6 hours for 3 days the following weekend. Fully immersed in it, right? And he's got a group of quantum consciousness facilitators that are his core team that helped to teach it. And then there was 15 of in the cohort, right? And we're all from all over the world, and we're all coming together for the purpose of learning about quantum consciousness. So we learn the philosophy. And then with anything in life, right? In order to be able to teach it to others, you have to experience it yourself. So we dive into the philosophy, and then the next day we start experiencing it. We have a journey. And so you're in a pod of 3 plus your mentor, you know, who's one of the quantum consciousness facilitators. That's part of his team. And all of his key facilitators, his mentors in there, they're all amazing. He's one of them as well, right? But you don't know who you're getting set up with. Mm-hmm. And so you're there to learn. And so you jump into it right away. And so you are going to either facilitate a journey for one of your cohort members, or you're going to be the person who's experiencing the journey, or you're going to be the observer. And so, of course, you know, I go through all of those pieces, and I thought, this is just so mind expanding. When I had my first journey, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. I can't, it would take me a whole nother podcast to talk about everything that came through that, but just 1, going through my own experience, 2, facilitating a journey for someone else, and 3, being an observer. I learned something from each one of those, because the wisdom that comes through the journey for the person who's experiencing the journey and being the facilitator of that journey, you're learning so much. And so 1 is about the remembering, right? Remembering who we are, that we are more than just human, right? We are a spiritual being having a human experience. We are the creators. And so I look at the 4 concepts of quantum physics that are, you've got the observer effect, right? Which quantum consciousness calls the creator effect. And we kind of covered that already, right? What you observe, you know, you're observing, right? You're changing the quality of that, of what's going on, just simply by observing it. We'll take that a step further by saying we can create whatever we want. Correct. Right. And so then we've got the theory of entanglement in quantum physics, right? That everything's entangled. Okay. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, in quantum consciousness, we call that entanglement, right? So you're entangled with everything, right? So that's that concept of oneness with everything. Yep. And we know that we're all one, right? And so then we've got the concept of non-locality, that electrons can be in more than one place at a time. Well, we call that everywhereness in quantum consciousness, that our aspects of us can be everywhere in the universe or different universes, whatever it is, right? There are different aspects of us everywhere. Correct. And so in quantum consciousness, we can take journeys to go and communicate and experience those other aspects of ourselves and bring that wisdom back to us. And then there's the holographic universe. I just finished that book recently, the holographic universe. A fantastic book that was just so mind expanding in itself. But the concept in quantum consciousness is holographic healing. When we go and interact with those other aspects of ourselves, we can bring that healing into this aspect, but not only this aspect, because of everywhereness and the entanglement and the creator effect, we can spread that through all aspects of ourselves. Just spreads across time and space, because as we know, time and space only exists in this realm for us so that we can learn and we can grow and expand our consciousness. But because we can access other aspects of ourselves across time and space, we can gain that healing and spread it across all aspects. So when you're facilitating a journey for someone, you say, okay, the first thing is that you hold that remembering, that knowing of their magnificence, of the magnificence of who we truly are. And in holding that vibration, you then help to craft a high vibration intention for their journey. So what is it that you want for your journey? At that point in time, are you wanting whatever it is that you're going through? We would talk about that, right? And then I help to set a high vibration intention of where we're going to take our journey. And so then we go into that journey and we go into a state of expanded awareness, similar to what we do in meditation. But I'm going to facilitate that state of expanded awareness by getting you in a nice calm position, do some breathing techniques, and then expand you out into your consciousness. And then we're using some philosophy within quantum consciousness that continues to expand, doesn't restrict, but continues to expand you out into wherever you need to go at that point in time, to continue infusing that intention that we set of that high vibration. And whatever that is going to come through you at that point in time. Whatever you need, you're going to find. And as a facilitator, I'm there facilitating for you in that journey, bringing that through. But what's amazing about it is that every journey is unique. And I, as the facilitator, am learning through every one of those journeys too, because the wisdom that's coming through the client is also coming into me. And so it's phenomenal what you can learn from everybody, because you're interacting with your present consciousness, with your stored consciousness, with parallel realities, with alternative realities, with interdimensional, and then going out to an eternal consciousness where you could be sitting with source, right? And I experienced it myself. And so there's just so much that can happen. Well, what's beautiful about it is, as I said, every journey is unique, and it's unique for what that individual needs at that point in time. And me as the facilitator, I'm there to be able to hold that knowing, hold that magnificence as you go into your own consciousness and experience that for yourself. And then you truly have the experience of, I am magnificent. And you can bring that healing through to yourself and then spread it across all your other aspects.
That's powerful. That's powerful. It reminds me of a couple of examples. One, having a quantum experience, traveling with my ancestors, right? And so on that journey, seeing the truth of our being, right? So everyone connected, light beings, luminous beings, perfect, whole, and complete beings. And so having that experience, what happened is, we talked about it before, having that reference point, being able to go back to that experience. And so whenever we have prayer, the prayers come from that perspective of everything being interconnected, being perfect, being whole and complete. And so that energetic field is just with quantum entanglement, right? And so I necessarily didn't have the verbiage for that, but through the theory of quantum entanglement, whatever I experienced in this aspect is also experienced in the prayer. And so when someone has a request, it's just a realization of what already is happening, whatever possibility is already exists in this dimension that I've experienced. And so that reference point fuels everything. And the beauty of the prayers is that when I say that, I love saying prayers for other people because it also benefits me too, right? Like, because it's only one. It's only one. And so it's an amazing concept of understanding who we are and how beautiful this experience that we've created is. The ability to create from that perspective is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I think what you're doing as a facilitator um, is amazing, to give people that journey, to take them on that journey. That's something that's super special.
It is. Thank you. And I must say, Andre, your prayers are second to none. To be able to experience that coming through you is just, it's phenomenal. I
Thank
can't
you.
describe what it is to just be a part of that, but I'm so grateful to have the opportunity every week to be a part of that. And even if more, if I want to go on your YouTube channel and experience your prayers. But as you said, it's like, so quantum consciousness gives us an opportunity to bring healing into our life, right? And again, you can't teach healing. You can't give somebody else healing. You have to recognize that the healing is already within them. So you're holding the knowing, you're remembering their magnificence for them while you facilitate that journey. And this is everything in life. When they experience that, they heal themselves. And that's one of the core things of what I've understood through all of the work that I've been doing, is that healing comes from within. It comes from ourselves. And so all we need simply is to be able to have somebody else illuminate that path for us and show us the way through the door, or show us the door, whatever it may be, and maybe support us through that journey. But the healing that we receive comes from within. And so part of quantum consciousness is saying, I'm going to help facilitate a journey for you where you can bring in whatever it is that you want. Maybe you just want to expand your consciousness. Maybe you want healing. Maybe you want to bring more peace into your life. Whatever that is, I'm going to help facilitate for you. But you're the one that's doing it because you're the one experiencing in that. And that is where the healing comes in. And so that's what's so beautiful, because when somebody actually realizes that they have their own power to heal themselves, you have then allowed them to empower themselves simply by helping to guide them through that journey. And that's unstoppable, right? When that changes the biology of our belief. We then realize how powerful we are. We are the creator of our reality. We are the creator of our world. We start healing everything, because then when we heal ourselves, we start projecting that into the field around us. And then we show other people that that's possible for them too. It's beautiful.
I love it. I love it. It's like we're seeding all over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seeding all over, not only impacting our lives, but everyone else's lives. It's just such a special thing. A seminal moment in my journey was understanding working with this consciousness, right? There was a point where I always felt like I had to put something into the field, right? Where it was me, and then the field was something separate, right? And so I would meditate and I would have a thought and I would put that thought into the field. And then it got to a space where it was like, wait. No, that's not it. I am that field. I am the field. There's no separation. I don't have to put anything. In fact, it comes from within me. The field is within my field of awareness. And that right there, that awareness, that insight changed everything. It changed everything. Everything became possible. Everything became possible. Healing, love, abundance, everything in that space, because you become a witness to it. Like I kind of, it goes full circle, but we talked about that before, being that boundless, infinite witnesser.
Mm-hmm.
That capacity changes it all. It changes it all. That's when things happen for you.
It
When
is.
we celebrate the challenges.
Yes. That's why,
It's
meditation, I think, is such a critical part in our evolution of expanding awareness. And I know that there are lots of ways of healing, right? But I love meditation because it's the process of going within and realizing your connection with everything. And so that's why I think meditation is so powerful, because you are doing it yourself. You're connecting with that field of awareness. And then you realize, like you said, that you are the field. And then everything that you bring into that field is part of the field, because it's you. And it's like, it's like I love to listen to Bruce Lipton talk about how when he had this epiphany of consciousness, and and that, like, how we are like a TV set, right? And so if you have a TV set and there's a broadcast going on, when the TV set breaks, meaning like the physical body dies, is the broadcast gone? No, you just get a new TV set, and guess what? You can tune back into the broadcast, right? And so we have receptors where that field is always there. It just, we are the vehicle of consciousness that is coming through. And how amazing is it that we have an opportunity to continue expanding that consciousness right now, and sharing that with one another, and expanding ourselves and being able to learn through one another. And that's what we should be celebrating, is that all of these unique gifts that we all have, we should be celebrating them. There's not one unique way to do everything that's going to work for everybody. No, that would be boring. Why would we want that? Then we wouldn't be here as human beings, right? We wouldn't be fallible, right? We would be completely infallible. And then there's no fun in it. It's just, everything would be the same. And now you may have pure utopia, pure love. Well, I'm not saying that that's bad, but we've been given another gift. We can create heaven on earth just by changing how our beliefs are structuring us, changing that programming within us. And that's what I love about quantum consciousness, is because when we go into that field of awareness, expanded awareness, we get to be able to connect with our purpose, right? Connect with our true selves and see the other aspects of ourself that are out there, and bring that healing, that wisdom through. And then when you come back into this aspect of ourselves, this reality, we say, wow, what do I want to change? What do I want to bring through me to change that programming, to create something new, to expand myself? And then you start connecting with your purpose. You start connecting with what you're here to do. And then you bring that gift out into the world, and then other people see it and say, I want some of that. And then you inspire them, and you bring their gifts out in them. You don't say you have to be exactly like me, because that wouldn't be any fun. We don't have anything to learn from one another at that point. You want to expand that. Well, the same thing we do with our children. Look at the gifts right in front of you that are showing you the beauty of life, of what we can be, what we can dream to be, and how we can create our reality, create our world. And guess what? If more of us do that, we're going to create heaven on earth for everyone, not just ourselves, but it starts with the individual. And when you know that you are already creating heaven on earth for yourself, you're projecting that into the field of everywhereness. I get excited about this stuff.
That was good stuff. It's worthy of
excitement. Be
excitement.
excited about it.
Worthy of excitement. Worthy of excitement. That's right where we are. That's right where we are. The field. We are the fields.
We are. It's beautiful.
We are the field. It reminds me of, when I was doing the research, when I was being my own scientist, and I said the field was separate, and I was looking out and figuring thinking I had to seed the field with different things. It reminded me of Russell Conwell. He talked about acres of diamonds, right? That this man traveled all over the world to look for diamonds, and finally gave up and went home. And he found that he had the diamonds right in his own backyard. Right. And so that's the journey, right? That was the journey of looking and trying to understand how to use the laws, right? Having the understanding of metaphysics. And for me, it was kind of like a self-exploration. And then I really decided I had to go within and really, to your point, understand that there's only one. There's only one. That everything is connected. That there's a divine, infinite intelligence. That's who we are. And not being afraid to own that, right? Because there's a little bit of fear around that,
Yes.
maybe conditioning, but not being afraid to own that. Some people are afraid to say that I am.
Yes.
That I am.
Drop that
God.
programming.
Yeah,
Change
yeah,
that
yeah.
programming.
They ain't gonna
Why
serve
not? What
it.
do you have to lose, right?
That part, right? It's the perception of other people,
Everything
right? It's
to
the opinions of other
gain.
people. Correct.
Exactly. Yes, you have everything to gain by changing that programming. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to step into your magnificence and step into your greatness? Because it's not about ego at that point, right? It's
No.
about loving yourself. And when you love yourself and you love who you are and what we have been given by the Creator, by God, the ability to create heaven on earth. Wow. Oh my gosh, we are powerful beings. Take that power back, empower yourself, and
That's
start creating with purpose. Purpose of what you want to create. Stop creating for someone else, create for yourself. And then you start sharing your gifts with everybody.
Stop creating for someone else. Create for yourself. Came here to get something, to do something, to let something, not to get something, to let something shine within you. Something that is always seeking to express itself. There's 8 billion ways of representing love here. 8 billion ways. That's
Yep.
a powerful thing. That is
It's
a powerful thing.
one of the things that Pete Smith, he's a brilliant man. He's just a gift to humanity, just like everybody else is, right? But it's those people that really make the light bulbs switch in your mind and say, wow, this is that next step of what I've been waiting for that's come to me because I was ready for it. I was receptive. We're only receptive to what we can take in at that time for our level of consciousness. But as we continue to receive, our consciousness continues to expand. And he said, you look at it and you say, okay, there are 8 billion people on this planet, right? And you chose you. Your consciousness chose you to express itself through. That is the ultimate gift of unconditional love. Wow. Wow. So love it and own it and live, create that life, create that heaven on earth.
That's right. That's right. Recognize that. Recognize that and permit it. Like, see, that's that. And for me, I went through a kind of a transformation in the language, right? Because before it was, I would accept it, right, or receive it, but then there was a deeper level of permitting something, right? Because permitting is saying, for me, in my mind, the way I frame that up is that it's already there for me, that it's already been given, but it's contingent upon me allowing that to happen through me, in me, and as me, permitting it. That's, for me, that was the difference. Permitting life, and I say life with the capital L, this beautiful field of intelligence and of love, permitting that to represent itself in its own unique way as each and every one of us. That, for me, that's the grace and the ease and flow. Right? Like that's kind of like to the point where it's like, yeah, you know what? I can surrender to that. I can surrender to that. I've got, there's so much evidence on just in this dimension alone to
Receive
say
it.
and to know. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
get those. We're a huge field of receptors.
That's it.
And so embrace the reception that's coming in. It's like Deepak says, right? It's the law of giving and receiving. And every night, I meditate in the morning on my own and meditate at night with my husband. And I meditate together, and we love meditating together because you're expanding that field even more when you're meditating with others, right? And so part of our meditation, we do several meditations together, but part of it is going through the Chopra programs on the Chopra app. And I love listening to Deepak because as my level of awareness and my consciousness expands, I'm able to receive more from the gems that he drops in his meditations. I mean, I listened to it, I'm like, wow, this is just amazing. And had I listened to it a year ago, wherever my level of consciousness was at that time, I would have received what I was able to receive at that time. But right now, I'm able to receive even more because I've continued to allow my level of consciousness expand and allow that receptivity to come in. And it's the giving and receiving, right? And so I'm receiving, and then once I receive that, I'm able to give more into the field. And it's just so beautiful. And I love it. I love every night. And what are we going to do tonight? What meditation are we going to do tonight? And I love going through the programs. And every time we finish one, I think, okay, what's next? and something else comes into that field of awareness, right what we need at that point in time, just to continue expanding us. And it's the universe, right? You continue to say yes. And as you continue to say yes, the universe gives you more of what you are.
That's
right?
right.
What are you at that point in time? The universe is going to give you more of what you are. Not what you want, more of what you are.
Keep saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Keep
Yes.
saying yes to it. Yes to it. That is amazing. It's a beautiful part of it. It's always progressive, always
Yes.
unfolding. Are we saying yes?
But never at the expense of the present moment, right? Because the present moment is where it's all at. And that's one thing I've had to try and balance is I continue to want to expand my consciousness and continue to look at where I can expand, but also give blessings and gratitude for this moment right here, right now. Go and be present. And so, like the other day, my Kung Fu Panda 4 came out, and my son loves Kung Fu Panda, and my daughter does too, but he loves it. And so I haven't really watched the first 3, but he was so excited about it. And he said, can we watch it as a family? And it's yes, of course, we can watch it as a family. And so I was working on some edits with a book and everything. And he came up, and I told him 3:00. And so at 2:59, he came into my office. He said, "Mom, it's almost 3:00. And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And so I said, "Okay, I'm just finishing up." Okay. I said 3:00. And so I said, "Oh, I'm going to bring my laptop down as we're watching it, and I'm going to keep doing stuff." And I stood there for a moment, and I witnessed myself. And I said, "You need to be present. You said that you would be there with him to experience this." And I said, "You know what, buddy? Laptop's staying right here. I'm done doing what I'm doing. Let's go watch this movie together. Put the phone on Do Not Disturb, face down. Everybody gets blankets. We get water. We all sit there and we watch it. We engage." I was actually quite surprised that the concepts that come through it are quite profound.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. And I saw him sitting in a chair the other day, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I was meditating, inner peace." And I said, "What? That's amazing. Where did you learn that?" Kung Fu Panda. Okay. We don't watch a lot of TV, but there's certain things we'll let them do once in a while. And that was one of those things. I said, this is actually teaching you a lot of really good things. So more of it. I love it, expanding that field of awareness and consciousness. And then he goes out with his imagination, and they start acting stuff out, and they're doing it. And your son loves reptiles, my son loves dinosaurs. Same thing. He states things. He knows names of things that I can't pronounce. He knows what they do, where they lived, what they ate, how they behaved. They're predatory, whether they were in packs, whether they were, loners. It's like all of this stuff, and how they behaved, and what they sought out. This stuff is just amazing. And so, we listen to them, we engage in that stuff, and that's what I love doing. Is when you learn with purpose, then you're actually learning. When you're learning something without purpose, you're not actually learning. It's being forced on you, right?
Yeah,
it's programming.
Being
Exactly. Right. And so, but when you learn with purpose, it's because you're interested in it. And then you're truly going to absorb what it is that you're learning, because you are interested and you're learning with purpose. Life is purpose. Find your purpose, and then go explore it and go learn about it, and start bringing it out into the field.
That's it. Find what makes you come alive.
Yes.
What makes you come alive. That's it. That is it. Opens your heart, makes you smile. You lose track of time.
Yes.
Time doesn't even exist while you're doing it.
Exactly.
It doesn't even
It's in the
exist.
zone. It's in the zone.
That's exactly.
And that's channeling. It. Channeling is being in the zone.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And that's like, channeling is not a woo-woo thing. Everybody at every point, at every moment, is doing something, right? But when we're in the zone, we're generally channeling that gift that we've been blessed with. We're allowing it to channel through us. So yeah, it's just, and you and I know we could talk for hours on end about so many things, and I know we go on, but it's so beautiful, all of these things that we get into, and we just expand our consciousness, expand our field of awareness, and put that love out into the universe. And it's just, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to speak to you about these things and be able to bring more awareness to them.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure. Always a pleasure to chop it up with you. These conversations are so important, just on a personal level, but also on a global scale, right? I think at the end of the day, we're all here wanting to open our hearts, live a more expansive life, tap into who we truly are, who we truly are. It's that inner voice, that inner calling that we all hear, right? We feel it in different ways depending on where we are in our journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's conversations like this that expand our awareness, that plants the seeds in the environment where people who are receptive to it can hear it, develop a practice around it as we continue to practice and grow and unfold. So I'm so appreciative of you. I want to give you a space so that you could talk about your new project. You got a new book that you're working on and one that already you co-authored and co-authored. You're
Yeah.
busy. I love it. I love how you're surrendering to the flow of life and allowing things to manifest. So share what you got going on.
Oh, thank you. So I had an opportunity to co-author a book called Divine Dreamers, and that's out now. It's available on Amazon. And 10 authors were able to give their story within the book, and really about lucid dreaming and astral projection. It was my first opportunity to write. So I just so incredibly grateful for that opportunity to just get out there and start saying yes to the universe, right? And so after that, I felt that I had more that I wanted to share. And, I want to be able to, I love working with people. I love coaching. And so that's really the core of what I want to be able to do, is to help people. I love being able to work with them one-on-one, coaching, whether it's instruction and meditation, conscious parent coaching, bringing the concepts of Ayurveda into all of those aspects, and quantum consciousness facilitation. I mean, that just so much in that, and so much opportunity for growth and healing to come through that. And so, the opportunity to write more, presented itself, because I had been talking, it was really fun to write. And then this course popped up, said, become your own publisher, create your own publishing company. And I thought, okay, I'll bite, and I looked in it and I thought, wow, this sounds amazing. That was me putting it out into the field, and it came back to me. So I'm going to say yes. So I've engaged in starting my own publishing company, and I've done that. And so now I've got another book that's coming out, and hopefully I'm going to have that published in this coming week. And then I'm going to keep pumping out books, and and right now it's nonfiction. I want to help people. I want to continue to put into that field of awareness of what I really believe everybody's potential is. And hopefully, if they're receptive to a little bit of that, and they want to learn more, then of course they can contact me. But if it sparks something in them and they go and pursue it, then great. Whatever it is, I just want to help, and I want to get people in touch with themselves and into what their gifts are, what their purpose is. And so that's the start of this new book, is about positive mindset, and looking at 11 gateways of how we are able to cultivate a more positive mindset to reprogram ourselves to be the creator of, our own reality and heaven on earth, and to bring more of that into the world. So that's what this next book is going to be about.
I can't wait to read it. I know it's going to be fantastic. I get a sneak preview
Yes.
of all the stuff that's coming through her as she channels, and it's absolutely sensational. I know for a fact that there are volumes of books within Nicole.
Thank you so much. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
absolutely. You're a great writer. You're a great writer, and your messages are so clear, and you can just receive them with they go right to the heart, and you understand the concept, but also how to practice it. That's what I love about it. It's not just theory, it's practice involved in it as well. So I'm grateful for you, and I can't wait to read the books. And I said the books because before I was like, well, she's gonna write a book. I didn't know she was gonna start a whole publishing company. So that's the part of you that I love so much, and I'm super enthusiastic about all that you're doing, and I'm also super grateful for you saying yes for this conversation. So thank you so much, my sister. It's absolutely a joy to chop it up with you and to share this space with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. I appreciate the time. I appreciate everything that you bring into this world too. You're just a beautiful, beautiful soul. And thank you for everything that you're doing for your family and everybody in the world, because the field that you bring into this world is just magnificent. And you're such a bright light. And I love that you are letting it shine each and every moment. You're just such a beautiful soul, and I love you. And I'm so grateful for our connection and everything that you're doing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, my sister. Listen, you got an open invite anytime you want to chop it up. This is here. This is a space. This is home. So I appreciate you. So, family, if you want to reach out to my sister Nicole, if you want to stay in tune to what she got going on in terms of the books, the publishing company, all the inspired writings and things, just I'll put her information in the description of the video. And as always, I'm grateful for you for saying yes. And just remember, if it ain't all good, just means it ain't all done. Ashe.